All right, we are here at my outdoor bin, and you'll notice I've got another bin over here. This is just some coffee that I get at Starbucks for my regular compost. And underneath here is a bin that has compost in it that black soldier fly larvae have kind of invaded, and they're doing their thing. So I just wanted to talk about kind of the difference between, you know, regular compost worm, vermicomposting, and then a black soldier fly larvae. So we're just gonna lift this up. And warning, I like worms, I like seeing them. These not so much, so now's your chance to escape before I lift this up. It's not too bad, but what you see here are black soldier fly larvae, and I'll put some on here. These are the larvae of black soldier flies. And black soldier flies are mimic flies. They are flies, but they mimic a mud dauber wasp. And what they do is they lay their eggs near compost. And I've got a tarp here so that when I open this up, these guys will all kind of land on the tarp, and then I can put them back in. But they lay their eggs, and about 4 days later or so, they'll turn into the larvae. And the larvae basically are in a mad dash to eat the compost or composting material, such as fruit, that kind of thing. And they use that to fuel their growth. And at that stage, the larvae stage lasts about 18 to 36 days or so. And then they go into a post-feeding or a pre-pupa stage, where they go and try and hide in a dark place away from the compost. So you may see them escaping, and that's what those guys on top probably were. They were probably in the pre-pupa stage. And that stage lasts about 2 weeks or so. And from there, then they turn into the black soldier flies. So they go pre-pupa, then pupa, where they're just kind of sitting there. So right away, you can kind of see the difference between, you know, this compost kind of flaking, and you can see almost like you can see the individual granules that come out the end of the worm. And this one is much more of a, I don't know, kind of like a paste, but it's also clumped together. And you can see the black soldier fly larvae in there. So they are kind of like a companion composters. The black soldier fly larvae will, if you have a compost, and they're all throughout the United States, if you have compost, you probably have seen black soldier fly larvae. The flies themselves, they don't fly around a lot and land on everything. You might see them around the bin, but they can only drink liquid. So they're not like a fly where they land on your food and regurgitate on it and spread disease. In fact, they're not a vector for disease. But the black soldier fly do a fantastic job on compost, or on organic matter, turning it into compost. Not so much the bedding. The worms are better at the bedding. But the thing with black soldier flies is they're putting all that energy into making their larvae bigger and bigger and bigger, and then turning into a fly. That takes an enormous amount of energy. So if you have, you know, a bin full of organic waste, and black soldier flies come in and you have black soldier fly larvae, then they say the waste will go down by volume about 50%, whereas a red worm, you know, it's growing till it gets its size, and then it could stay its size for its lifespan of 1 to 5 years. So it's processing the food and getting nutrients, but it's not going from a tiny egg into a full fly and then repeating that process a lot. So you're gonna have more volume of castings per organic matter than you will with the black soldier fly larvae. But the black soldier fly larvae's castings are actually called frass, and the worms, who also eat their castings over and over again, will eat the frass of the black soldier fly. And let me see if I can find some more. The lighter they are, probably, and smaller obviously, probably the earlier they are in their lifespan. You can see them just moving around. But they are, if you see some black soldier fly larvae in your worm bin, that's not a problem. In fact, if I were to dig around here some more, I'd probably find some. But if you have a bin of mostly black soldier fly larvae, their metabolism can heat up the bin upwards of, in the 90s, high 90s, and the worms won't like that, so they'll kind of disengage from it. But what I did with this bin was I had regular compost, and what I like to do is I'll put it in my 20-gallon containers and then kind of let them sit for a few months before I throw it into my garden. And inevitably what I find is the black soldier flies will come over from the compost, or they'll find it and they will start doing even more work on the compost. So I love them down here in Zone 9B in Florida. Now, the black soldier fly larvae are also good for feeding chickens, fish, even pigs, certainly reptiles. So if you're doing black soldier fly, or you're thinking about black soldier fly larvae compost bin, yes, you'll lose the volume, but then you get all that back in a larvae that you can then feed to your chickens, lizards, fish, whatever. And certainly here in Florida, I'll see a lot of lizards around this bin, as I think they're coming in and taking some snacks. So I hope you learned something about black soldier fly larvae and the difference between maybe composting with them and composting with the red worms or red wigglers. They certainly are complementary. Certainly not a big deal to have them in here. In fact, it's beneficial, as long as, again, it's not a mostly black soldier fly larvae bin that will heat it up. But I think that will about do it as far as black soldier fly larvae. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or if you have some more information to pass, would love to hear it. But just wanted to kind of give a comparison of worm composting and black soldier fly larvae composting. Hope everybody's doing well, and happy vermicomposting, everybody.